The following podcast was recorded at noon on Monday, March 17th, 2025. All information presented was true and valid up to the time of recording. Let's get started. Welcome to Crayon Box Politics Weekly, your go-to podcast for breaking down the latest in state and federal legislation. I'm Carl, a retired Marine turned political enthusiast, here to help you stay informed and engaged.
And I'm Avery, and today we're going to unpack the policies and decisions shaping our lives one bill at a time.
This episode, in the Federal Government Review segment, we will be highlighting the passage of the Continuing Resolution Bill and the further funding of the government through the end of the year.
And for the legislation roll-up, we will be highlighting healthcare.
So grab your favorite color from the crayon box, and let's draw some clarity from the chaos. So starting with our traditional roll-up, looking at the House, they did manage to, in their very short week, introduce 147 total pieces of legislation. Of that, 124 were bills, 19 were resolutions, 2 were concurrent resolutions, and 2 were joint resolutions.
You know, they actually did work in the Senate this week.
Did they?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, they had 168 total of pieces go through, and 154 of them were bills. The joint resolutions, you know, they did quite a lot less, you know, with 6. And, you know, simple resolutions were 6 as well. You want to guess the last number? I bet you can't.
2.
You cheater. Yes, it was 2.
I took math for Marines. I can do math. I know that 2 plus 2 equals 5, okay?
Listen, you gotta stop eating all the crayons that you have.
Well, I'm out so far, so I need more.
Hey, that's why they make 64 packs.
Yeah, well, that's not enough. I do.
Like
I did see what you did there. Yeah, well played. That's a nice little plug there. It's interesting that the Senate was able to get more legislation in than the House. It's not normal for this day and age.
I don't know, man. They decided to like work finally. Who knows? Maybe someone bought them pizza and some beer. I don't know.
Or maybe the debate over the continuing resolution got their juices flowing. You know, they were like, "Ha, we can actually do something."
Or maybe all the confirmations are just about done.
Yeah, that's true too. And they're ready to move into
whatever
their real
it is
job,
that they're going to do.
Yeah. Oh no, you know what it was?
Man.
They were excited for the recess. They were excited for the spring break recess that they're taking.
Man, I'm excited for the recess that they're taking.
Golly, a whole week.
Right, to come back for what? A week, and then we're gone for 2 weeks again?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, because you got Easter. They couldn't just wrap it all in one. They just...
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, your hard-earned tax dollars at work right here. But speaking of the continuing resolution, of course it passed the House. We knew that was going to happen. I wasn't too shocked in the fact that Johnson managed to somehow find the votes from his Republican caucus. I mean, when you looked at the vote, it was definitely a party line vote in the House. Democrats were all opposed to it, and Republicans pretty much all supported it. I think they dropped 2 overall votes.
Well, if I remember correctly, the Republicans lost Massey, and 10 Democrats voted for it, which was surprising, needless to say.
Well, that was in the Senate, right?
The Senate. That's right. Yeah, yeah. My bad.
Yeah.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day.
Already. Um,
God, man.
but so here's the thing for me, and you and I talked about it all last week, is that um Democrats had protested and talked about how they were just going to allow the government to shut down. They weren't going to pass this bill. They did not want a resolution going through without any type of legislation that dictated any type of limitations for Doge, right? And then at the very
Right,
last minute, Schumer gets up and says, "No, we're going to pass it. We're going to vote in favor of it."
right.
And there was an absolute uproar from Democrats nationwide.
Oh, they're asking him to resign at this point.
And I see their frustration. I do. But I
I do.
honestly do. But here's the thing that that I also see, because I kind of I took a step back, right? And I looked at it from his point of view. And the argument that he was making was very succinct, which is, if we allow the government to shut down, if we do not vote to pass this continuing resolution, if we do not fund the government, what will happen is that we are going to put all of the pieces into Trump's board. We're going to give him all of the power, because when a government shutdown comes around, it's not Congress who decides what aspects of government shut down. It's the president. And so the president would have been able to make the determination to shut down certain parts of the government without consent from Congress. And there would have been no way for Congress to guarantee that those parts of the government could ever be turned back on, right? So a government shutdown would have provided Trump and his president, Musk, with the authority to essentially execute the full and total government restructure that they've been trying to do, with the simple, hey, look, we don't have the money to fund all of these programs, so we have to shut certain things down in order to make it happen. So
Right. And
I go ahead.
no, no. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no,
Oh,
we're gonna sit here and
we
stare at
had
each
talked.
other.
I mean, we're going to. I get paid either way. Oh wait, no, I don't. No. We had basically said the same thing. Well, like the day before it happened, and
Mhm.
I was like, hey, if they don't vote with this, it's gonna be, well, the Democrats shut us down. It's gonna look even more pitiful and fucked up than it did with them at the address. And so yeah, that's why the Senate was stuck in my head when when we brought up. I was like, no, no, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those situations where, like, Schumer was in a bind. Senate Democrats were in a bind. They were damned if they did and damned if they don't. And um, the CNN poll that was published, or the CNN story published about the Winnipeg poll that talked about Democrat approval rating um, dropping through the floor as a result of this action is, I mean, it's telling, right? But it tells a certain story that I don't think that is being portrayed by CNN. I don't think it's being portrayed by Democrats. I don't think it's being portrayed by Republicans correctly. And I think that the issue is not that Democrats and Americans don't support the Democratic Party because they support what Trump is doing. Democrats nationwide, Americans nationwide, independents nationwide don't support the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party is not standing up to Trump. They're not
not at all.
vocalizing, they're not doing the things that they could be doing to stop Trump. And so what we have going on right now is a situation where yeah, false equivalency, right? Oh, Republicans aren't doing anything to stop them either. I could talk to that all day long. The fact of the matter is that Democrats, they're not loud enough. They're not vocal enough. They're not doing enough. I mean, sure, we've got the the Crockett's and the Stansburys, but even AOC is mute on a lot of this.
Well, I think what it is she's um mute, although she definitely was pissed about Schubner. But she's looking at possibly looking at 2028. There's definitely rumors about her running. So, she has to align herself to where she is not too vocal, because women of color, or women in general, cannot be too vocal. They can't be too loud with how they dress. There's all sorts of things that they should or should not do. And so unfortunately she's having to keep that on the back of her mind. And I think she's learned, she's simmered down, I guess is what I'm trying to say. She's not that freshman anymore.
Hmm.
So it could be a number of things. But she when Schumer was like, no, we're gonna vote for this, she immediately came out with no gloves. Like, she was gonna draw blood. She was pissed, which, I mean, she has rights to be, but the smart thing was to let it happen, because it was going to happen regardless. Is how did it look for you, you know? And with already coming off looking bad about not standing for the 13-year-old, they had to do something.
Right,
Even if it's fight to live another day. You know what I mean? Like,
right. And the funny thing is that Democrats would used to talk all day long when Republicans were shutting down the government about how there were no winners in a government shutdown, and now we're sitting here with Democrats talking about shutting the government down. Um, it just it spells that hypocrisy that exists, and all it does is it leads to that confirmation bias, right? And we talked about this after the Democrat loss last year.
right?
And I think that Democrats are continuing to run into this. And the problem is that they are failing at the messaging. They're failing to message to the people why they are doing the things that they're doing, right? What we need is more Jeff Jacksons in Congress. We need more Jeff Jacksons who get in front of their screens and say to the people, hey, listen, this is why we're doing this. I know it seems like we're not standing up to Trump. I know it seems like we're not doing anything, but here is what we are doing. And here is why. These are the things that we are doing. And not just going before CNN or Fox News or all the big media companies, right? Because let's face it, Americans don't watch those companies anymore. Hell, I don't even watch those companies anymore. Um, it's I can't stand them because you can clearly see the bias that's coming out. I mean, Fox News
Right.
is, let me tell you, like I thought they were bad during the junior Trump, the junior Trump, the junior Bush era. Hell,
Yeah.
I thought they were bad during the Trump 1.0 era. But
I thought they were bad
man,
towards, Obama too. Like, they're that, but it
yeah,
got bad, yeah. And
they're absolutely.
I take my loop when when we get on here and we start, looking and moving about our day, and warming up where we need to warm up at, just talking, and hey, how you doing today? And I I start my little loop. Up here's CNN, there's Fox News, and then I go to X, and then I go to True Social, and then I'll take a swing through Facebook, and a swing through TikTok, and hey, if that catches my eye, then I'm gonna go look for actual, hey, what happened? Is this for reals? And
Mhm.
because that's what you have to do anymore. Like you can't just, yeah, this is where I sit at. No, you need to go look at least about 10 different sources, and you might still
Yeah.
only scratch the surface.
Yeah. And I mean, me personally, I don't even look at that stuff anymore. I'll read it at a glance, and if I think that it's interesting, I'll share it. Like I've got the news, Apple News on my phone, and I'll get notifications here and there. But for the most part, I get my news one from you when you throw things at me, and you're like, "What the fuck?" But the other piece
Yeah.
of the puzzle, yeah, the other piece of the puzzle is I also look at um you know the actual sources, right? So like I go to the government sites and I go to everything else. So like that's where I go to get my information nowadays, just because I want to make sure that I'm getting the raw, unadulterated version of the information. Long story short, I really do. I fundamentally believe that this was one of those efforts by Schumer and by Senate Democrats to start working their way into playing the long game, if that makes sense. Like, I think what they're trying to do is I think that they are trying to reestablish themselves as the individuals who are not playing in the near term, who are playing in the long term. And I think that they've forgotten how to do that in the grand scheme of things. And so I think that what we're going to see in the future is this continued effort by Democrats to develop and hone their ability to play that four-dimensional chess that Donald Trump and members of the Heritage Foundation have been playing for the last 2, 3 decades. It's unfortunate that we're here. It's unfortunate that we're having to do it this way, but that is where we are.
You always sugarcoat it much better than I do, and you always have like the, oh, it's gonna get better. I'm like, no, no, it's terrible. It's terrible. That they are failing. They suck. Like they should have paid attention years ago. Here we are, and you're like, oh, but it gets, brighter soon. We're almost the rock bottom. I'm like, no, no, they should have played the long game. They're not masters of the long game. I don't even think they can play Foursquare at this point.
Well, so again,
We could try.
why was Crambox? Why did we create
I
Crambox
know.
politics?
I know.
Right? And we created Crambox politics because of the fact that the two-party system absolutely sucks ass,
Ab-
right? Like
Absolutely.
the two-party system has done absolutely nothing but negative for our country. And it has put us in a
Absolutely.
position now where we have become so divided that it's allowed nations like Russia and China to put forward a Manchurian candidate, if you will, who is doing the bidding of these other nations. And he's doing it by allowing and creating the divisiveness and the split that has already been there because of the party system. And so
Absolutely.
you're not wrong, right? Like you're not wrong. Democrats should have seen this. They should have seen this coming. But they were so enamored, enamored. I think it's
Close
enamored,
enough.
enamored. Yeah, one of those things.
Ooh,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
I don't
I'm
know.
sure eventually. I'm sure I'll get a fact checked eventually. But
It,
they
it
they were
happens.
so they were so stuck in their victories, right? That they put their feet up and they allowed themselves to coast. And they did not realize that the victories that they had won, they weren't victories in the sense that they were permanent. They were victories in the sense that there were battles won. The war wasn't over. And so right now we are in a fight for the soul of our nation. Period.
Right?
Nothing wrong about that. But I have a faith in the belief, double entendre there, um, that we as a nation, that our institutions will stop the insanity at some point. That that we will stop the slide at some point, and that eventually there will be a okay, no more, and Democrats and Republicans alike will step into the breach. That's what I believe, and I hope will happen.
Oh, I'm definitely hoping so too. You know, I'm kind of like you got the glass is half full, the glass is half empty, and my glass is broken as of this morning. So it is what it is. We go to build it back up. Glass will fall. We're just gonna fill it full of sand and go from there.
I mean, the only way to get stronger is to grow and
Yep,
learn and adapt.
yep.
Um, uh, and
That's why we're here.
there's always these mentions of, oh, Germany and Hitler and comparisons between the two, and um Elon's not salute to Hitler. And let me tell you, like, I I'm kind of tired of the comparisons, but at the same time they're valuable, because what it shows is that there is an understanding of history, right?
Right,
And what I have to say is this: if you look it at the way that things have progressed, Germany went through a turbulent time. Germany went through a period where their their democratic system fell apart, and they went through a period of time where they were beholden to a dictator. And under that dictator, their nation was found guilty of doing untold crimes against humanity. However, if you look at Germany now, they are a flourishing democracy. They are a leader on the global stage. Hell, Angela
Ye-
Merkel managed to do what the Kaiser and Hitler tried to do with war, only she did it with economics and managed to put Germany in charge of the European economic market entirely without firing a shot.
yes, but you also have to take into account that the um the government that formed what was the Hitler regime, basically, who was in charge, came in second at the last election that they just had. And it was very close. So I would like to keep the whole, well, that's optimistic and great. And that used to be up until this last election. I was right there with you. It was great to see where they came and how far they've come, and I was excited to see where they were still going. And then seems like they lost their damn minds too. So
Yeah, and I don't want to turn this into like an analysis of the German government, but my point there is that Germany managed to come back, right?
absolutely,
And I think that the United States can come back. Will we go through the same absolute horrid things that Germany went through? I
I
I
hope
want to
not.
say no. I want to say no. Um, but and we're going to talk about this when we hit the
Oh yeah, we
executive
are.
branch. But there's already things being done that are concerning. And
Mm.
mind you, they're not being done by our government per se, um, but they are being done in the name of our government. So at the end of the day, when you look at it from the perspective of historically, we have a tendency to repeat our past. Yes, agreed, 100%.
I
But
don't
I
understand it, but
fundamentally,
yeah.
I, well, it's because we don't learn, right? We don't
God,
learn from our
man.
past. We don't go,
I
oh,
well,
what did we do wrong there, and why are we not? Oh, wait, that's why. Let's not do this anymore.
or I honestly think it's not necessarily that. It was no, that didn't really happen. That was fake. Just like landing on the moon. Just like freaking vaccines cause autism. Just like all of these things that oh no, well this is the truth. Well no, this is the truth. Well this is no just stop. Stop. And
Yeah,
let's actually look at what happened
Hmm.
instead of
Yeah. He- I blame the History Channel.
oh my god. I love
When
the
they
History
went to
Channel.
talking
Like,
like Duck Dynasty and fucking ancient
oh my
aliens,
god.
like all of a sudden, nope,
Listen,
they
listen,
completely eradicated the intelligence of the American people.
listen, Linda. I enjoy Ancient Aliens and searching for Bigfoot and hunting Hitler and swamp people is pretty interesting too. Not gonna lie, but I
Even though it's a lie.
I mean yeah, wholeheartedly. But I enjoy it. That's how I used to put the kid to sleep. Oh, you want to watch TV, but you want to nap, but I need you to nap. Let's hidden treasure this shit, and it worked every damn time, and I enjoyed it.
I feel like those are the programs that led to people questioning
Oh,
everything, including the things that were
wholeheartedly.
factually present, like the fact that the world is round. How the fuck did we get to a point where
I
now
oh my god, I'm still. Oh my god.
I digress. We went off topic a little bit, right? But
Sorry,
at the end of the day,
sorry.
bringing it
Woo.
back, like the continuing resolution, it did pass. The
It did.
government remains open, and I think that it was a good thing. I think that it took the teeth out of um, the Trump administration and their ability to further degrade our federal government at the speed that they wanted to. Um, I mean, to the point where I think Trump was making comments about no longer taking a hatchet and using a scalpel instead. Although once you've taken a hatchet to something, a scalpel is useless.
Might as well take a knife,
I don't know.
and that's not a
Yeah.
scalpel. A Bowie. A
Um,
Bowie is what I'm trying to get at.
the
Ugh.
guy that was elected to serve as the president, he did manage to sign 7 total executive actions last week. Of those, uh, 2 were, excuse me, 3 were orders, 2 were memorandums, and 2 were proclamations. Um, one of the ones that I wanted to discuss that really jumped out at me was this executive order titled "Ensuring the Enforcement of Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 65 Charlie." Um, maybe I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but
I
here's
did
here's
not.
the thing that well then I will educate you. Um,
Yeah, please do. I
yeah,
was like,
so
man, I don't know that one.
essentially here's the thing that really is that sticks out to me, right? What the Trump administration is calling for is that anytime an organization or a lobbyist firm or a special interest group wants to file a civil um, injunction against a presidential executive order or an executive memorandum, what happens is that, or excuse me, what the Trump administration wants to happen is that they want the court to evaluate the potential impact financially of said injunction, and then they want for the the group that is bringing the legal proceeding, they want them to put up an amount of money equal to the amount of money that it would cost if said action were to be put on pause, essentially making it a pay to play, right? So if a PAC, a political action committee, or a lobbyist firm, or an activist group wants to fight against any type of executive action that Trump wants to bring up, they would have to bring up millions of dollars to place in escrow before they could even have the legal proceeding heard before a judge. So buying their way into the court. So now we're entering into a situation where, my God, if you're not rich, if you don't have millions, if not billions of dollars, guess what? You're not going to have justice. And that's what this executive order is stating. Essentially, he's setting the bar extremely high so that the average American, the American people, can't utilize the tools that were put in place by our Constitution to prevent an overreach of power by an over exhilarated executive branch. Point blank, period. So it's extremely concerning to me. It's extremely dark to me, given the fact that we are in the situation that we are in, and that we have seen the rise of the oligarchy as one that is, my God, Elon Musk selling Teslas in front of the White House. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, Trump likes to sell shit out of the Oval Office, so, it's one and the same. That's why he's called the cuck for a reason.
Yeah, that's valid. But that's kind of like that's where I stand, right? Oh, by the way, do you know how many of those executive orders that President Trump signed last week that had anything to do with improving the economic situation in the United States?
0.
Zero. Imagine that, right? President Trump continues to not take action on anything that he could take action on with regards to supporting anything when it comes to reducing the financial hardships of the average everyday American. Oh, and by the way, dare I mention the fact that there was an effort for what was the article that I sent you? Let me find it. It was
I
about
was like, which
eggs,
one? Oh, yeah,
right? So
yeah.
so Finland turned down a request from the United States to have eggs imported into the United States in order to reduce the cost of eggs. And Finland said straight up, nope, sorry, we can't help you. Even
You're
if
trying
we
to take
wanted to
Greenland.
help you, there's nothing that we could do to help you, right? Finland's like, sorry, nah, not going to do this. Um, and so, like, it lends to the fact that President Trump continues to do things where we push our allies off. He continues to do things where we put ourselves in this isolationist position, and then when we ask for help from our allies are like, "You say we
No,
don't
dude.
help you, so no, I'm good." Um, I think, what was it? I watched a video. There's this kid out there, and Avery, I'll share the video with you, or his channel with you on YouTube. Um, but he gave this analogy for Canada, right? And it was this analogy about how, like, you walk into a bar, right?
Hmm.
And you walk by your friend, and when you walk by your friend, you give him a shove, right? Your friend turns around and says, "What the fuck?"
Right.
So you punch him in the face. Your
Fair.
friend
Okay.
hands on his face, goes, "What the fuck?" So you kick him in the balls. Friend goes down,
Fair.
stands back up, and goes, it doesn't go. Friend stands back up and hits you in the face. And then you go, "Oh, why'd you hit me? That was rude." Right? Like, it's a perfect example of where we stand today when it comes to the international affairs of the world. Donald Trump continues to do this thing where he hits our friends in the face. And then when they respond with, "Why'd you do that?" he hits them again. And then when
Yeah,
they respond with any type of retaliation, he goes, "Why would you do such a thing?"
I'm not gonna lie. I did the same thing to my kid when she threw this stick in this little girl's face in like uh pre-K, and I couldn't explain to her like no matter how I did it, like she didn't understand. So finally, I took like three bean bags and I threw one up in the air and it hit her in the head or it landed next to her. And she, what are you doing? And I ignored her. And I did it again and ignored her. And finally, I had one like hit her in the head. Again, I was like, "Well, I thought she knew that I wanted to play catch with you." And it was finally like, "Oh, so our allies are hoping that we get oh shit, you're right. I'm so sorry." And go and we
Hmm.
backpedal, but I don't think he has the capacity. I think my kid is further along than what he is.
Yeah,
You know,
I've picked up I picked up on the fact that he and a lot of his core supporters, JD Vance, Elon Musk, they lack the understanding of what the difference is between causation and correlation is, and how like actions have consequences, and they don't comprehend that. Like they can tell you actions have consequences, but when they do
and
something, they expect that their actions don't have consequences. Um,
right, but yeah,
which
I
leads
mean,
us
if
into the next piece of actions having consequences. Do you wanna run with this
uh,
one?
oh my goodness, the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by what is it, Tren de Alraga? I always pronounce it so wrong.
Trendy Aragua?
PDA. So,
Yeah, we'll just TDA this one. And we'll come on, we'll move on.
we'll stick a pin in it.
I see what you did there.
Oh my goodness. Oh, he's such an. I mean, see what happened is he was like, "Oh, we're being invaded, oh," and so he was like, "We're gonna deport people really quick," and the judge said, "No, bro, we're not doing that." You like how I like where the play on words. I love the storytelling that I got going on today.
Hmm.
Um, even
I dig
different
it. I
voices
dig it.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It works.
um,
It works.
and then he's like, "Nah, fuck off. We're gonna do it anyway." And so he went ahead and deported 261 migrants, supposed migrants. Some of them have at least one that I've read is actual supposed to be here, and he wasn't given a court date, and they're all over in El Salvador, and there's nothing that you could say to me that is going to make me feel otherwise when they say, yeah, we moved 261 people without any due process, without fact checking to make sure that they were all here illegally, to make sure they were not either Native American or protesters at Columbia or Brown University, because one of them is from Brown University that got kicked out, um, or everyday Americans like that veteran that got scooped up from ICE, like and Trump paid El Salvador $6 million for to have these people, right? Because they're not all from El Salvador. They're like, hey, have this, because remember, what was it last month? El Salvador is like, hey, we'll
Hmm.
take anybody you got, anybody at all. 261 people. Mm. There's nothing you could say to make me think that they were all here illegally.
Yeah. I, so I'm on the fence, right? And you and I, we talked to a mutual friend about this one, and I it, I agree with him in that a dark side of me actually is happy that we're getting gang members out of the United States.
If
Um,
they're all violent, yes, absolutely.
right, and that's the caveat, right? It's the if these are trendy Aragua members and they are violent offenders, then
I'm all for it.
gone, bye, see you, no questions asked. But and there's a here's my caveat, right? The country that we're sending them to is not known for humanitarian prison system,
80 people per
at all.
cell,
That's ridiculous, right?
and
Like,
they have
they,
no blankets, no mattresses.
um, they're going to go into these prison systems and they're going to get lost and they're going to be stuck there for good.
As soon as they came in with shackles, they dog walked them, by the way. I saw the video. They dog walked them. And then shaved them while they still held them down. No hair whatsoever. Yeah, no.
And that takes me to my previous comment of it
Right.
may not necessarily be the United States government doing it to these people. We're paying other governments to do it, which allows to, if you look at golly, if you look at the stages of genocide, um,
Oh
when you
fuck,
get
here we
to
go.
the denial stage, when you get to the denial stage, it allows for the government to say, no, we didn't do that because we only sent the violent offenders to these countries. They are the ones that did that. We're not guilty of anything.
Plausible deniability.
Deniability, right? So, and like this is the direction that we're heading, folks. Is we're heading to this situation where, like you said earlier, Avery, is that people are the United States executive branch is blatantly defying judicial order. The United States executive branch is blatantly defying separation of powers. They are blatantly ignoring the norms that are associated with a constitutional democracy. And they are doing things in a manner that is, in all appearances, dictatorial and authoritarian in nature. We have a situation where rule of law is no longer a thing. It's ruled by fiat. And this is something that I have talked about at nauseum. And for those of you who don't know what ad nauseum is, a lot. But I have talked
I
about it
mean,
over and over and over again about how we have developed this need for rule by fiat because Congress can't get their fucking heads out of their asses to do their job. And again, this goes back to Donald Trump is what he is and has the power that he has because of the two-party system that we have here in the United States of America. Prove me wrong.
I can't. We talked to like you said, we talked about it at length, and we know what the stages of genocide are because that is something you and I have been studying for a little bit now, and something we talk about an awful lot. And what he's doing is disgusting either way. Um, and just yeah, like people are calling what I told you earlier. People are calling Saturday Black Saturday. That is what it's being labeled as. And I never in my lifetime I never thought that we would get here. You know, even when I was in the military under Don't Ask, Don't Tell and all of that, I never thought that we would end up here. And I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about that because the way that we are trending is terrible, and I don't know if it will get fixed in our lifetime. The amount of damage that has been done by him and his followers and other countries that we have now buddied up to, I don't know. It's going to take decades to even scratch the surface of where we are, and it's really disappointing.
Yeah, without a doubt, and you're right. It is 100% disappointing that we've reached this point. But again, the two-party system. Again,
Here
it
we are,
is the
right?
fault of those who came before us. It is Biden's fault. It is Obama's fault. It is Trump 1.0's fault. It is Bush Jr.'s fault, Clinton's fault. It is Reagan's fault. It is Bush Sr.'s
Bush
fault.
Senior.
It is
Oh,
Nixon's fault. It's Teddy Roosevelt's fault. The only one that we can even think of that in our history as a nation that cannot be held to fault for where we are now was the first president.
right. Oh no, he's rated number two now. Remember, because Trump is rated number one.
Yeah, yeah,
Facts,
but but
facts.
but what I'm saying is that he can't be held to fault because
Right.
what did he say? He said that if we enter into a party system, we will become a nation that can be easily divided and that can be manipulated and have foreign powers enter into our politics and cause rifts within our nation. He said
Absolutely.
that, and then his successor, good old Tommy Jefferson, continued the trend.
Oh my god! Now I got Hamilton stuck in my head.
Sorry,
I
but
love it,
the,
but yeah,
it's just like Jeffy Jefferson, man. Like if we want to blame anyone for where we're at, Jeffy Jefferson, right?
I go.
Jeffy
I
Jefferson,
stand by.
I'll even say Hamilton, right?
Yep.
Burr. I'll blame Burr.
I yeah. I I yeah. Yeah. Lincoln, all of them.
Lincoln,
Granted, he wasn't.
absolutely. Like
Yeah,
he did things. He did things with the desire to save us, right? But the things that he
he did.
did, they set precedent, and that precedent is what allowed for where we are now. Like
You know,
again, causation versus correlation, right? And I hear all these kids, and in my stepdaughter, she hates history, and it bugs the living daylights out of me because I fundamentally think that history is one of the most important, if not the most important subject that we could ever learn. Because if we don't
I'm
know where the
tracking.
fuck we came from, we can't figure out where we're going. Right? I
I'm with you.
digress. I pulling it back once again. We have another week where Donald Trump has done absolutely nothing to support the American people. He has done absolutely nothing to benefit the American people, and has only done things that are in furtherance of China, Russia, and his oligarch buddies.
That's fair. Um, I think that this makes a good stopping point for us to talk about what the federal government did do for us. It was they did some things that they've done, and this is as a whole, not as a write this today or yesterday, but as a what give me some good news. I'd like some good news. I
um,
don't have a lot today, so please help me.
so their HR, we decided, or we didn't decide, the final vote of topic of choice from the people that we put out there in 64
Tell me what the
focused
people wanted.
on, yeah, they wanted healthcare, right? So
Yep.
again, going with our new format, looking at Congress first, HR
So
554,
fitting.
which is the Veterans Choice Accountability Act. And again, all of these congressional bills will be up for display on the congressional dashboard all week. for you to review. Um, Currently, the Veterans Choice Accountability Act is still in the introduced phase. It's still in committee. We're still in the process of having it vetted. It was introduced January 16th, 2025. This is a bill that is intended to improve healthcare provision by the Department of Veterans Affairs. It's intended to establish procedures by which VA programs and specialized care are evaluated by Congress to help
Ooh.
refine and improve those processes. And then also to look through the VA budget and align them with the Choice Improvement Act. Um, in order to make sure that everything works within the next 2 years. It's a decent bill. I mean, I have my own personal opinions on this bill. Uh, I don't think it goes far enough. I personally think that we need to add a bill or maybe even wording to this bill that says, hey, listen, effective immediately, all veteran claims adjusters, whatever their title is, right? Examiners, whoever, must provide a weekly update of 5 things that were done in furtherance of the claim to every single veteran claimant. Period. No
I,
questions asked.
I know you're a little biased about that right this second. You're a little angry about it, but from what I know, dealing with the VA system, that would just bog them down even further than what they already are,
But
and
they can
then
afford to get rid
nothing.
of 80,000 Veterans Affairs employees.
That is that is not the VA's fault itself. That is the director of the VA, and I'm not even gonna fucking talk about that fucking asshole today. But for as far as you have to look at it this way, right? So you have examiners, you have the people who then review the evidence, you have people who figure out your rating, and then you have people who write up your rating, and there's a whole list that goes on step by step by step. And so and you when you were getting out, I told you, hey, you need to be putting in your folder. You need to be putting this in. You're like, but I can't. I was like, you need to be putting this in. I promise you, you need to be put like what was it, 6 months out. I was like, dude, you got to put
Yep.
this in. And
So and I did, right? So I got it. I had everything set up. I just missed the deadline by 24 hours.
right, and I get it. I get
and
it.
and that those things happen, right? And part
It
of me is
takes
glad
months
that
to years.
part of me is glad that it happened like that. Um because of the fact that I'm able to now sit here and experience this process, right? Like I'm miffed, yes, justifiably. Like I'm biased about it. I am very upset about the way that things have progressed with the VA. I'm very upset about the lack of communication. I'm upset about the fact that they just aren't there is no appearance of them doing their job, right? Um and so when it comes down to and like you said, oh well, that would just bog them down. Well, they're
It
firing
does,
80,000 employees, which is
which
going to
makes it
bog them down
worse.
even further.
Correct. And again, it's not all of these people's fault. It is the director of the VA, and it's the Congress. It's it's all of these people's fault, and it's shit is running downhill. And think about it this way: there are still um claims that are going through from over Vietnam, over the Vietnam area, and that's why I tried to explain that. Hey, this takes months to years. You do get back pay, and do talk to your VSO, and have them stay on top of it for you. Um, but to get where I am at and everything going, it took 5 years to be fighting really hard, really really hard, and not giving up. And you may get denied the first time. You may get but with you having all of your records and everything, you should be fine. But it's going to take a while. And the Choice Act, I liked when Veterans Choice went through, because sometimes you were waiting um over 30 days to get in to see um your doctor or a doctor, and that scandal that came across with basically the die list. You waited around until you died. um it was a thing, it happened. And now we're getting in and being seen, and if you're 30 days out, you can go out um and get seen in the public. That was before the Choice Act came in. The Choice Act that has been in before. Now you can go see the doctor you would like to see. Um, and there are things that are improving, and I'm here for it. And like I said, it's easy to complain about the bad, or kick the horse in the mouth. Um, Especially being on the outside, but being from the inside, even though it looks like shit, and let me tell you, even on the inside today, it looks like shit. Um, but that's again me being biased and how I'm feeling. It has greatly improved, really, really greatly improved.
Yeah,
So
and so um, to clarify, like I am not saying that the VA is fucked up. I'm not saying that these individuals who are in and doing their job every single day, who are working my case, are not doing the things that they need to be doing, right? What I am saying is that instead of sending Elon Musk a list of 5 things, they should be sending it to us. Like, I don't I don't care what Elon Musk thinks. And Elon Musk shouldn't care what they're doing, besides whether or not they are actually providing for the people that they are responsible for. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene got up and said, "Oh, these people don't deserve their jobs. They're not working in a true business." Blah blah blah. Like, listen, like the things that they do are important. If they
let
weren't
me
there, Marjorie Taylor Greene, little Marge, let me tell you something. You wouldn't get paid. Your little happy ass wouldn't be able to fly safely. Your little happy ass wouldn't get your tax returns. So I understand that our VA representatives have a huge, daunting task. All I'm saying is that if we're going to run down this line of Trump and Elon Musk need to get a 5 things that they did every week, then what needs to happen is that email doesn't need to go to Trump and Musk. It needs to come to us.
let me break it down a little bit further. From what I know is, let's say you um move to a different state, right? And you need to switch your VA care. Um, well, while you're moving, they'll put you down as a traveling veteran. So you can stop at any of the VAs along the way, and when you get where you're going, you have to go in and you have to establish care again. And those VAs don't talk to each other. When I was in Florida, they're like, "Well, you haven't." I was like, yeah, I did. I've been seen before. Here are all of my things." And they're like, "Well, no." I was like, "Yes, I was in VA area number da 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 da," and I listed off my number, and they're like, "Oh, well, they just don't talk to each other." So that's another reason why they have such issues. Is you may have been seen in 4 different hospitals or 4 different spots. It, shit gets shit gets crazy. So that's just another example to throw into the fire there for you. So if you move, make sure you have your "I Love Me" book. Have it. wholeheartedly. That's the
Yeah,
best advice I have ever been given. Anyway,
yeah.
let's move on to the next one.
That's definitely something I've been holding on to. All right, so
Fuck yeah.
the next one is HR 379, which is the Healthcare Freedom and Choice Act. Now, this one is this was comical to me, right? And the way that I read it is it reads like it's an attempt to develop a health savings plan, right?
Okay.
And what I mean by that is like a health savings plan is similar to like the Social Security fund that we created for Social Security, so that when you get old, you have a pension that you have paid into that you can then pull from when you get old, and you have that money with you. Um, I I hate these things. I don't I cannot stand these things because here's the problem with these things, right? The problem with these things is that we're saying, hey, government, we trust you with our money, only to
Mm-mm.
be completely blown away when the government uses our money for things that we don't want them to use it for.
Mm-mm.
Like, at what point is this even something that we're okay with, right? And oh, by the way, you would think that us giving our money to the government in order for us to have a health savings plan would be a Democrat construct, right? No, it's a Republican
Mm-mm.
construct. This is designed by Republicans to raise taxes. It's a veiled tax increase at the end of the
Mm-mm.
day. It's a way for Republicans to raise taxes without actually raising taxes. Um, yeah, I don't. I guess that's not a positive. I think that introduced January 14th. It's still in committee, still in the process of going through the gambit. Um, the next one that I want to talk about, again, not a good one, is S47, which is the Defense of Conscious in Healthcare Act, introduced on January 9th by one of our favorite senators, Mr. Hawley. Um, Great dude. Um, Lots of
Fuck
sarcasm
him.
with that statement.
Fuck him. Cannot stand
Um,
him. Oh my god, he's from my state. Fuck off.
um,
Oh.
but this man likes to run through the halls of Congress and then say that he didn't. Um, but anywho, this bill, essentially what it does is it, like many bills that we've talked about on the state level, what this bill does is it makes it okay to discriminate. Like if your conscience tells you that you are opposed to abortions, if your conscience tells you that you're opposed to providing health care to gay men, if your conscience tells you that you're opposed to providing health care to African American women, then guess what? You're protected because that's your conscience. And that's what this bill does. Um, Introduced January 9th, has not made any progress thus far. But it's just another example of the kinds of bills that are being introduced in Congress when it comes to our federal government. Um, and finishing it up, now this one is a good one, right? And this one, it popped out to me when I first saw it. It popped out to me, and I remember when President Biden pushed the bill and signed the bill into law, uh, detailing uh, the the health insurance nutrition facts,
Mm-hmm.
where like you got to see exactly what the cost
Right.
of everything was and everything. So this is something similar to that. This is called the Healthcare Price Transparency Act. Um, Essentially, what this bill does is it forces that each hospital has to provide with plain language what they're charging for, right? So they can't just be like, super Latin word and blah blah blah, and this is what the charge is. Instead, they can say, "Hey, we scanned your brain and we're charging you $5,000 for it." Like, okay, that's great. Now they have a comprehension of what that is. In addition to that, it's also mandating that prior to providing services, they have to list out what the services are so the patient can be like, yeah, no, bro, I can't afford that. That's not happening. I'm not doing that. Um, again, just one of those things. This is a good thing, in my opinion. I don't know where you stand on it, Avery, but I think that the hiding behind these types of things is absolutely not okay for hospitals, and jacking up prices for things like simple preventative care is absolutely not okay. So
No, it's not okay at all.
providing the patient with a means by which they can easily read and comprehend what they're being charged for, on point. I think this is a great bill.
Yeah, no, I liked it. I like the sound of it. So I mean, at least you ended us on a high note when it comes to, you know, the federal government.
Hey, I tried a little bit. I did.
You know, I will say we found a little bit of things in the state, the state field, I guess field section, rainbow. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I almost called it a rainbow. I I came across two bills out of your state that I kind of really like, and what it's gonna do. Their bills S177 and H242, and they're both
I got to
labeled
chime
the
in
same.
here real quick, and you have this innate ability of finding the exact same bill in both houses. Like, I don't know how you do it, but you find the exact same bill, and you're like, here, they're the exact same thing. Let's talk about them both.
I
I love
mean,
it. I do. I enjoy it.
technically they kind of have to agree, to move on.
Hmm.
So I mean, you might find one little thing that's different, but anyway. So what it does, well, let me go with the title, I should say, and it adds psychiatric hospitals to Medicaid, which is, to me, super important. The mental health crisis that is going on in this country is ridiculous, and I wish I wish more care was allotted to some people. Now, the pro sides of this is going to be increased access to mental health services for patients who need psychiatric care, like I touched on. Um, it is a potential reduction in emergency room visits, as individuals can receive appropriate care in psychiatric hospitals, and it promotes better mental health outcomes through comprehensive treatment options, which is really great. Um, Especially hitting on the second one. I know here in the middle of Missouri where I'm at, the mental health options are, especially like in the rural areas, very, very few. And some of them, we do have the psychiatric hospital, and they'll put you in for maybe a month, couple weeks, maybe 90 days. It kind of depends. And then you're getting all these meds that you need and you're doing great. And then they just kind of, good luck. And you don't have a way to continue seeing a therapist or getting, the meds that you need. And so you are going to the ER and going, hey, and these are people trying to do the right thing. Hey, I know I need this help. I just need these meds refilled. Can you please just refill these meds for me? And a lot of times they will, but there are other times where they're like, "Hey, we can't do this unless we get you back in here." Why would you want? It's bad enough to stay the first time, but to stay again when you are trying to do the right thing. Um,
Hmm.
so I see that, and anybody who puts in the work, I am here for it. Um, Now, I will say the cons for this. Um, it does increase cost of Medicaid program and potential budget implications. Um, Possible resistance from stakeholders who may argue against expanding Medicaid for psychiatric institutions because, people are greedy. That's what we're going to do. Need for careful implementation to ensure the quality of care and avoid overcrowding in psychiatric facilities. If you're running in my opinion, if you're running into issues of overcrowding, then that shows that people are not getting the quality of care that they deserve and needed. And maybe, just maybe, you should build another damn hospital and get people the care that they deserve and that they need. So we are not seeing as many active shooters or violence or any of these things.
Hmm.
Sorry, I'll
I
get
mean,
off
to
my
be fair,
soapbox.
no, you're again, you're not wrong there, and both of these bills have they're the same pro con assessments, right? But and what I'll say is that when it comes to the what you were talking about is building additional psychiatric facilities, we can't do that because of the way that we do medical care today, right? So, like, when we are focused on evaluating uh, these patients, they come into the hospitals, they go through the process, and then they get treated at the hospitals, and then they go home. So we don't have the numbers to justify building additional facilities. So is there the potential that this could overpopulate the psychiatric facilities initially? 100%. But what that will do is it will create the demand signal for adding additional facilities to increase the level of care that we're providing for these individuals. So I think these are both great bills, and coming out of North Carolina,
Oh,
nonetheless. I mean, my great state,
I,
we seem to be we get things wrong sometimes, but we seem to be doing a lot of good things too.
hey, for a southern state, you're doing pretty all right with some other things, but here we are. But yeah, I thought these were great bills, and I'm gonna skip over Tennessee's for right this second. I want to come back to that one was super interesting, and I think we're gonna talk a lot about it. I and as far as two bills go, I found two more of the same bill out of New York. It's basically the same bill. It One is S03326. It is called um Combat New York's own Combat Veterans Healthcare Choice Program Act. And then I guess they are technically the same thing. And then we got A04765 under the same title, New York's own Combat Veteran Healthcare Choice Program Act. And what I really liked about it for both of them is that it's going to, I want to say, like, make an account. You know what? I'm not even gonna summarize it myself. I'll just read what it says. The bill aims to enhance healthcare options for combat veterans in New York, providing them with greater choice in selecting their healthcare providers. It seeks to address the specific needs of veterans who may encounter barriers within the traditional healthcare system. Now, when I first come across these bills, um, what it did was it was making its own healthcare account, and it was going to meet that gray area of active duty soldiers and veterans, to where the gray area that you're in right now, that you need care, and these are going to be things that you almost know for a fact are going to be service connected. And even if they aren't service connected, the help that you need now, we'll just focus on that part. And it makes it to where you can go ahead and get help and receive the care that you need, and you're still taken care of. And I can't disagree with this bill at all. I think it's fantastic. Again, like I said, it allows veterans to access wider range of healthcare services and providers, ensuring they receive the care they need in a timely manner. And by giving veterans the choice of where, God, I can't read, of where they seek treatment, and the programs promote autonomy and better aligns healthcare services and individual needs. I'm so glad I'm gonna have an eye exam pretty soon. Holy crap! You
Yeah,
would
I'm over here
think,
watching you like, ah.
you know, and well, it's like I'm looking at it and like the shit's still blurry for me. Um, and I put my glasses on and it doesn't. I have an astigmatism, so one eye is kind of nearsighted, the other one is far. It's fucked. So funding concerns. These are the cons. They may be challenging. There may be challenges in securing adequate funding for the program, which could limit its effectiveness and reach, and potential overlap. Critics may argue, holy shit, man, that this initiative could overlap with existing veteran healthcare programs, leading to confusion. I'm just gonna quit, man. I'm done talking. No, I'm just kidding. Among veterans regarding their options, opinions, options, it's options.
So we've talked in depth. I almost said ad nauseum again.
See, there
We've
we go.
talked in depth. We've talked in depth before, right? About
Right.
like how it's the government's responsibility to deal with things that are listed in this cons, like the what the critics are saying. Like, oh well, there may not be enough funding. Well, that's the government's job to figure that out, honey. Like, sorry, but
We just
not
voted on
my
this shit.
problem. Like, um you figure that out. The oh well, it might not have the right reach. Well, guess what, that's the government's problem. Figure it out, right? Like the people, i.e. the assembly and the state senate, voted for this bill. Therefore the government, i.e. the executive branch of the state, is now beholden to accomplishing and executing the mission. Period. No questions asked. They need to get over this idea of, oh, that might be too hard. Well, I don't care. Like if the people say do it, do it. Which I'm not going to go back to the federal government, but that's the the president needs to figure that out and understand that he is beholden to the people and not the other way around. Um, and his election as the president is not a mandate from the people. It is his election as, like, we trust you to do the job of running the federal government and doing what the people, i.e. Congress, tell you to do. Right. So again, I did it. I went back to federal government. But what we need to do is we need to I did it. I just can't keep pounding this thing. But I really don't care about the cons. I think this is a good way forward, and it's the state saying, hey, we recognize that the VA is failing our vets, and so we're going to step in and fill the gap.
Could you do me a favor and read the Tennessee bill? And then I'll take
Oh,
Indiana.
I get to read it because you can't read
Yes,
it.
yes, please. Man, let me tell you. I could do the Indiana one. I have it pulled up on a bigger screen. Do my Tennessee.
Okay, so
That's not really my Tennessee, but do the Tennessee. I liked it.
oh God, this is not the only 10 I see.
Woohoo! Here we go again. Fuck.
I don't
You're
know how
gonna
I feel
wish we.
about this one.
That's what I said offline. I was like, man, I'm in the gray. Anyway, we'll get there.
I
We'll get
just
there.
I don't know how I feel about this one.
It really hits me in the. Like, I don't know, but I'm excited for Indiana. Let's go with Tennessee real quick. I told you it hit me with the constitutional wise. I get it, and I'm
Yeah,
for it. but also domestic wise, it comes with that red flag, man.
Yeah, so like at the 60,000 foot level, right? What this bill is designed to do is make it easier for doctors and healthcare providers to understand regulations, right? And make regulations easier to adhere to and follow. Um, and in doing so, make it easier for people to gain access to healthcare, right? That's the
Um,
60,000 foot level
I'm
outlook.
gonna press this. I'm gonna fill this out here by saying this is HB 0387.
Oh yeah, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
HB 0387. Um,
Sorry, battle.
goodness. No, you're I mean this bill throws me off, right? Um,
Exactly.
mm.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I guess this is the part that's throwing folks is folks, this is the part that's throwing Avery and I off, right? And this is the part within the bill that says a healthcare provider shall not inquire as to a patient's ownership, possession of, or access to firearm, ammunition, or firearm accessories. Require information described in subdivision B1 to be disclosed before providing treatment to the patient. Deny future treatment of a patient based upon a patient's ownership or control of a firearm, firearm munition, or accessories, and enter or have another enter information described in subdivision B1 into a patient's record unless the information is relevant to the patient's medical care or safety of others. A healthcare provider shall not discriminate against a patient based upon the patient's exercise of the constitutional right to own and possess a firearm, firearm ammunition, or firearm accessories.
Yeah, I'm in the gray, and I don't know how I feel about it. Like constitutionally, I'm with it. I understand it. The other aspect of it, if you are having a mental health crisis, or you're receiving healthcare for a mental health crisis, and it's bad enough that they think that you should turn over your firearm, even if it's for a certain amount of length or for good, um, but they should be able to inquire about it and save your life or other people's lives, and we don't run into the issues and the scenes that you know just about I want to say almost everybody in the US at this point has some form of PTSD from a traumatic event, whether it's from weapons or, from the World Trade Center or from war or whatever.
Mhm.
Like luckily my kiddo hasn't had to deal with that, and I want to keep her that way as long as possible, but just about everybody at this point has. And if
No, she just has a thing about beanbags.
oh my goodness, yep. But at
Yeah.
least, she, unlike our cuckold president, you know, understood that maybe we should figure out what, and communicate how things work. I guess,
Yeah.
I guess he communicates with Elon, maybe. Elon's son definitely communicates with him, so there's that.
There. Mm. Sometimes I wonder if Trump is like babysitting Elon's son.
I saw him walking him to the
The
Marine
helicopter,
One,
Marine One.
yeah, the other day. It was just him. I was like, "Ooh, you letting him go all by himself with? I don't. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Daddy Musk had things
No.
to do.
Mm-mm. No,
President
he was
Musk had things to
babysitting.
do, man.
He was babysitting Trump. let's think about you. We were thinking about it the wrong way. Elon
Oh
sent him
yeah,
to
that's
babysit
true.
him.
That's true.
You the real
Um,
president.
yeah. So what I'll say is, I see there's two parts to this, right? There's the dilemma of the fact that when you look at mental health care, one of the biggest blockades to people seeking mental health care is the concern that if I go and I talk to a psychiatrist and I tell them that I have a gun and that right now I am actually having thoughts of self-harm, the psychiatrist is going to run to the government and I'm going to lose my gun,
Correct.
which definitely is going to prevent me from going to talk to a therapist about the fact that I'm having those thoughts,
I mean, I see it. It's rational.
right? Um, And in doing so, because I'm not going to go see a therapist, I'm not going to get the care that I should be getting. And because I'm not getting the care that I should be getting, I'm going to be more prone to acting out on the impulses that I have, be them homicidal or suicidal. And we're going to have more incidents like the ones that we've already had. On the flip side of things, if we are binding the hands of a healthcare professional and telling them that they can't ask these questions and that they can't report the information because they can't ask these questions, then what we're doing is we are putting doctors into a situation and healthcare providers into a situation where if they don't ask these questions, they won't know. And if they treat an individual or they treat a patient and that patient then goes off and has homicidal or suicidal actions, then that provider is in a position where they're held accountable. And that provider is not going to want to put themselves in that position, which means that provider is more than likely not going to want to provide at all, which means no providing of care. So it's a double-edged sword, right? You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Um, I'll be honest with you, like I am a Second Amendment supporter, and after thinking
100%.
about this and listening to you going through this, Avery, I can say without a doubt, I don't like this bill,
I see both
but
sides.
I do like this bill, but I don't like this bill.
That's what I said. I see both sides, you know. But I also think that we look at it differently, being veterans too. On top of it,
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Folks, HB0387, make sure that you check it out. This is in Tennessee, the only 10 that I see. And let us know what your thoughts are. Shoot us an email and get back to us so that we can incorporate your thoughts into our next episode, maybe. Avery, you wanna take us on with the next bill?
let me preface this by saying, um, before we got on here, um, the federal government didn't just piss in my Cheerios; they shit in them, and I'm a little upset about it. I'm a little pissy. So this bill is going to run kind of hand in hand with some bullshit that I'm running with. So you might have to reel me back in a little bit, or you might just
I
join me.
got you. No,
Okay,
I'm
okay.
probably going
So
to join
this
you.
is yeah, yeah. Let me tell you, whoo, Indiana, and I'll start with this. Listen, I am transgender, and so I may have a bias, and I will always be a advocate for anyone who is transgender or on any of the alphabet mafia that we have, and even straight, I will go to bat for you if need be. I will. You ask, I'm there. Um, but these motherfuckers. Anyway, so we're going to Indiana, and it is HB 1428. It is down as a anti-trans bill. And when you talk about genocide, we do have a genocide tracker that we are both working on and getting familiar with. It's kind of my baby, but you oversee it too every once in a while, and you're like, you're not going fast enough, and I'm like, yeah, well, this makes me go, is this where we're at for extermination? And
Mhm.
I'm still sitting there for that one. Anyway, it is HB 1428. It is the freedom of conscious, yeah, healthcare.
Conscience. Yeah.
Conscience. Thank you. Fuck. I want to be
Yeah.
unconscious is what I want to be. So it provides that a
Jiminy Cricket.
healthcare fuck man. It provides that a healthcare provider, healthcare entity, or health carrier, I should say, may not be required to provide or refer an individual for a healthcare service that violates the conscience of the healthcare provider, healthcare entity, or health carrier. It established the exception for the healthcare carrier, specifies that a healthcare provider entity. I feel like we're doing circles here with this fucking thing. The whole oomph to it. Basically, it says that if you feel like this upsets you for morally strong, freedom based, faith based issues, that you can refuse service to that individual.
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit in S47, right? So
Pisses
the
me
Defense
off.
of
Yeah.
Conscious, the Defense of Conscious and Healthcare Act, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we kind of alluded to the fact that we've seen this before when we saw it in
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and now Indiana is pushing a similar bill to what we saw both in the Senate and what we saw in South Carolina. And we're seeing the same
And
thing pop up with this freedom of conscience healthcare bill.
I believe
And what I'll
Idaho has
say,
one as well.
of course they do. That
I
that
mean,
shouldn't surprise anyone because that
nope, nope,
I,
not at all.
I ain't the hoe, you know. Um,
Oh fuck, man, they are definitely the hoe.
but the Jesus.
Or
Um,
backwoods West Virginia. Oh my god, man. Woo.
the the long and short of it, right, is that this is another one of those bills, right? And I cannot stand when we go, oh, freedom of conscience. Like, no, we are not a country of conscience, right? We are a country
This
of
is freedom
rules.
of
We are a country
bigotry.
of laws, right? What
This is
this
freedom of
is,
bigotry.
exactly, Avery. This is freedom of bigotry. This is freedom to discriminate. This is freedom to
This
say, I'm not going to give you my services because I don't believe in who you are as an individual.
you could be dying out on the side of the fucking road and they'd be like, sorry, I don't like your rainbow flag, and move on. What happened to first what? I'll do no harm.
Do no harm. Yep.
Yeah. I
First,
mean,
do no harm.
the fuck, dude.
It's not.
Yep.
It's not a
And
thing. The
so,
Hippocratic Oath is gone
I
with
mean, a
these
lot of things are
bills.
gone. And, and again, that falls under, the whole, taking away transgender care at the VA, taking, um, all the things that we're hearing of, hey, free speech is back. Free speech wasn't gone. You just weren't allowed to be an asshole.
Well, you
And,
were.
I
You just
mean,
had to deal with the consequences associated
it was a
with being an asshole.
being an asshole. And so, my question to you was earlier, and I'm gonna go over it again because we talked about the genocide and what stage we're at. And before we would have been at stage 8. And I don't want to say we're at stage 9, and that is extermination. I don't want to say we're there. But with bills like this and with the transgender care for the veterans being taken away, and then, you're taking healthcare in general away by having people go, nah, dude, sorry, you can go fuck yourself. That's what you're doing. You're silently exterminating these people because they're not gonna have mental health. They're not gonna have any blood work done to know, hey, this is where we're at. You know, you need to up it, you need to lower it. Hey, by the way, you're showing signs of a fatty liver, it's going up. Or hey, your kidneys, they're looking a little rough. Or hey, by the way, I think that you have a blood clot forming. Let's do some more work. All of those things do happen. It is an issue. You're slowly killing these people regardless. And if not by that alone, then you're setting it up to where they're going to kill themselves by their own hand or just by giving up. So we are either we are either at stage 9, or we're literally where you could poke the line and at the cusp of it. And I don't know where we're at. I want to say it's hard. It's hard for me to even say that we're at stage 9. Never in my lifetime. And I remember when that started becoming an issue, and you're like, and I said, hey, trans genocide is a thing. What, years ago? Well, Trump won. And
Yeah. And
everyone was like, that's not a thing.
so what I'll say is that, Avery, you and I have been working on this tracker, and folks, it's not ready for prime time, so
It's
we're not
not.
going to release it to you. So don't ask
It's
for it
still.
yet.
It's in
It's
its
coming.
infancy.
It's coming. Avery, what I'll say is that I think that this would fit into the emerging section for stage 9. I think that then stage 9 would probably slip into the emerging. And again, when
It's
you
so
look at
hard to say that.
and for the detractors, right? For the people who are like, oh, but stage 9 is blah blah blah. Yeah, again, I get it, right? Stage 9 of genocide, right, is the extermination phase of genocide, where mass killings of the targeted group occurs. Key characteristics include organized and planned mass murder of targeted groups, use of military police or state-sanctioned militia to carry out killings, claims by perpetrators that these actions are necessary for national security, progress, or purification. Death may come from direct killing or deliberately created conditions that cause death, starvation, disease, or exposure, and denial or minimization of the killings by perpetrators. All right, so right here, right, for the detractors, for everyone who looks at stage 9 and says, oh, we're not there yet, right? The reason I say
We
emerging
are.
is because the key characteristics, there are two very key characteristics. Death may come from direct killing or deliberately creating conditions. We are now at the process where our government is creating conditions that cause the death of transgender Americans.
There's already one veteran who took their own life because of this. Granted, that was at the beginning, but yeah, we're gonna see more.
Now, as I said before, it's not ready for prime time because of the fact that stage 9 is not universal, right? Is California at stage 9? No, right? Is California experiencing the warning signs of stage 9? No, not yet. Is New York? No, right? Is Indiana? Yes.
Um, well, it also depends on how you look at it because of the facts that came out today. I know it's a little beforehand, but as of 10 something this morning, according to the publication, no longer going to get transgendered VA care. So that's at a federal level.
Right. And so
So
again, this goes
it,
into
it
what we now have to do is we'd have to evaluate how the states respond. Right.
absolutely.
Like, and this is why this thing is not ready for prime time yet, because there's so much that goes into it, and so many calculations and so much
Oh my
analysis
God,
that feeds into it that
there's so many bills that we would have to look
yeah.
at, and we do look at. Just like there's 747, or I'm sorry, 774 bills in the U.S. that are labeled as anti-trans. We've had 32 of them have passed and 42 have failed. So, and this is it gets updated every day. I update our state tracker every damn day with this, and which is why the genocide tracker isn't done. This is in live updates.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And these are things that folks we're going to steadily roll out, right? But I'm glad that we're able to bring it up and talk about it now, because these are the things that we are tracking, right? We told you in the past that we were tracking congressional information, that we were tracking congressional bills, and we finally found the way by which we can provide that to you in that congressional dashboard. As we progress, what you can expect to see is that we are going to start rolling out issue tracker dashboards, where we are going to be able to demonstrate and show to you where we are at with regards to specific issues. The first one that we're trying to roll out is the trans genocide tracker. And we're gradually moving in that direction, right? We're gradually moving in the direction where we're trying to provide you, the viewers, you, the audience, with the information for you to be able to see it and make your own decisions, right? Like our podcast, we try to be as neutral as possible, but we do have a tendency to be editorial in nature. That's just the nature of a podcast, right? If we were completely neutral all the time, we'd sound like NPR, and no one likes NPR because NPR is dry and their reporters sound like they're not interested in what they're saying
Oh my God,
whatsoever.
they're so boring. But it's just one of those things. You know, before the election, we put this out, and we tried to tell people, and I am so fucking tired of saying "I told you so." And we had a little bit debate going on about not being optimistic, and you're like, you have to be optimistic, and I was like, dude, I don't got 2 freaking months, man, before some shit's gonna hit the fan. And here we are. I was off by 3
Yeah.
days, but here the fuck we are. Okay, give me 3-day grace period. Fuck.
But suffice it to say, that's I think Indiana is definitely one of those triggers for maneuvering that into the emerging phase.
Yeah, 2 o'clock this morning is about where I hit. And I was like, I've never been so disappointed, disgusted in my own country before. Until, I mean, Zelensky was a little iffy, in the shit that went there, but this is hitting hard. I don't know.
And for everyone out there that's experiencing this feeling right now, folks, let me just say, I cannot stress to you how important it is that you persevere. Times are tough. Things are hard. We live in a world where we live in a time where it feels like we're in a twilight zone, man. Like the joke
It,
about the the Onion, which is that satirical site that makes up satirical news articles, right? The joke about the Onion going bankrupt because they have nothing else to write because everything is coming true. Well, it would be funny if it wasn't accurate, right? But there has to be an end. There will be an end, and things will get better. I I promise you they will get better. Right? Gay Nostradamus, right? Gay
you
Nostradamus.
know,
I am predicting that
it,
things will get better. Gay Nostradamus,
it,
they will get better.
and I agree. And I would like to say that we went over this right before we started our recording, and I said we're gonna fake it till we make it. We're just gonna do it. And I agree. Things will get better. They'll probably get worse before they get better, but they will eventually get better. They have to. And you just have to fight and be around long enough to see it. And I promise you, it may not seem like it's worth it, and it's very hard. And trust me when I say it's really hard. But you have my email. You can find me on the email. You need somebody to talk to, I'm here. I don't care. Like we've talked about before. I'd rather stay up all night just to hear what's going on, hear your story, and you still be around, than you not be here the next day. You
Yep.
know, and
Yep.
you know, that's all we can do. And that's all I got for today.
Yep. Well, you took my line. Well, that's all we got for. I'm going to take it back. That's all we got for today.
For the gay,
we
I
covered a
mean,
lot
yeah,
of
we there.
ground. we covered a lot of ground, and we hope you picked up some useful information about what's happening in politics right now. Next week we will not be recording, as we will be utilizing the time that Congress is taking off to do a little bit of more behind the scenes work ourselves here at Crayon Box Politics. Quick note before we go and before I hand it back to Avery. We did put out a call for volunteers to join our steering group and help shape We did put out a call for volunteers to join our steering group and help shape Crayon Box Politics in the Facebook group 64. What we want to do is now push that out to you here, the audience. So I understand that you're probably not part of 64. That's fine. No issues. Lots of judgment coming from me because you're not part of 64. But no,
No
seriously,
judgment.
none whatsoever. But what we want to do is we want to put it out there. If you are interested in shaping Crayon Box Politics, if you want to help set us up for the direction that we are moving, if you want to be a part of the movement, send us a message at contact@crayonboxpolitics.com. The link is going to be in the show notes, as always, and let us know that you'd like to be part of the group. To that end, if you don't know or how to get to the show notes, all you got to do is go on the website and click send us a message. There's a little button on the website that says send us a message, and fill it in with the same information, and that will go to contact@crayonboxpolitics.com, and we're going to get that information right away. So by all means, get involved. Let us hear from you, and we'll make you part of the movement and part of the future of Crayon Box Politics.
And even if you don't want to be a part of it, you just got some suggestions, bring it on. I love suggestions. It's great. And until then, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. Politics can be pretty crazy, can be pretty depressing, can be great. There's all sorts of things that it can be. But we'll be here helping you make sense of it all, one day at a time. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen.
And remember, folks, stay informed.
Stay engaged.
And always color outside the political lines.